management from Ciena, Blue Planet.
Hello everyone, I'm Bhaskar and Sumit. So let me tell you a story which you're all going to be very familiar with. Now, I'm on a Teams call with my customer, and right when I'm about to make a pitch, the audio lags and then the call freezes. It's really frustrating, isn't it? I'm pretty sure everyone here has had the same experience. Now the challenge is that this is a micro outage. A micro outage has minute challenges in the network that affects end user experience, but is not registered as an outage by the network itself. It's highly frustrating, and it happens to us at all times, whether we're conferencing, streaming, or gaming, or any other applications. Now on the flip side, when you're looking at the network itself, the network KPIs all look perfect. Your packet loss, latency, jitter, everything looks fine. Let's say the network detected a congestion and rerouted the traffic. All the KPIs look fine, but I go back to my call and I get the same problem again, another micro outage. It's really frustrating. This is the gap that we're trying to address. Fixing the network or healing the network does not mean healing the customer's experience. That's what we're here to talk about today.
Well, thanks for that introduction, Bhaskar. So let's take a look at where Agentic AI and OSS basically comes into the picture. I think first and foremost, when we talk about customer experience, we automatically think network performance. I think that interlock has not changed at all. In fact, it's even further intensified by the fact that we now are bringing a lot more automation to really kind of start heading towards that autonomous network journey that we're all basically driving towards. So what is basically changing? We're basically driving declarative automation constructs within our overall end-to-end business to service network infrastructure pipelines. So two core components over here that basically sort of come into play. One basically is your agentic framework, right? The agentic framework that is OSS oriented, that basically allows you to basically bring the decisioning and reasoning capabilities into the stack. The second aspect are the agents themselves, right? Agents that are actually anchored into OSS data, into that OSS knowledge graph that basically sort of drives the ability to be able to bring decisioning. So how do we basically get about realizing that interlock? So here, together with Bhaskar, we basically sort of look at the true customer experience, looking at application classification and the QoE, combining that with the most critical component in the network, looking at the IP digital twin from Blue Planet, essentially then taking intent as it transacts through this collaboration between Canopus and Blue Planet to really close the loop. So let's walk through a couple more slides over here and see how that comes together.
Thank you, sir. So at Canopus, we talk about Agentic AI and Agentic OSS. We not just reroute traffic, we reroute frustration. Every time you get frustrated, how do you actually address the customer's problem rather than just healing the network? And in order to do that, we built this entire stack end to end, all the way from network sensors to the data to the AI that powers the decisions. Now, network observability in the current world today with multi-cloud hybrid networks that are delivering apps is very complicated, and it's expensive, and it's not real time. With the Seer agentic platform, we have flipped the story. We've essentially created what we call as the sixth sense of your network. It's able to feel, the experience of every single user, every single app that you're using in real time. Now, how do we do that? We essentially created these cloud-native eBPF sensors, which can be dropped into any network and VNF, CNFs, or maybe just standalone in the network, and it can sense in real time all the encrypted traffic and extract signals out of it. So a lot of signals. Next, what we do is we create these data streams, which is essentially the lifeblood of AI agents. It's what we call as super netflow data streams. It's highly contextualized, enriched with quality of experience, quality of service parameters, which tells exactly what, every time there's a micro outage, every time there is an experience degradation, it's encapsulated in those data streams. And these data streams are fed into agentic AI workflows. Now, these agentic AI workflows are very intent-based. So for example, you might want to, so let's say you're on roaming right now and you're on your own network, right? And you're using YouTube to browse something. Now you don't know exactly if the problem is in your home network, is in your roaming network, or is in the application server. Now the AI agents consistently run investigations in the background and will come up with the investigation outcomes, which will drive the insights, and these insights will drive the decisioning. The decision could be a closed-loop orchestration. It could be, something that goes into your NOC, or it could go into any other downstream systems. And this is in production, just to give you an idea. This is in production, running on a network with a couple of million subscribers already. Now, this essentially changes the entire way that you would look at how you would drive end-to-end network observability across the entire spectrum of your core, your radio networks, your roaming networks, your CDNs, and your edge networks. So being able to understand the end-to-end customer experience enables us to heal the end user's experience while we are healing the network through Blue Planet's orchestration systems.
So we've talked about the application side of the house right now, right? But now let's take a look at really kind of the IP transport. I introduced the constructs around the digital twin. IP transports are fundamentally the core to almost every modern connectivity service that is out there that the service providers basically bring to the table. These transports are the ones that are really kind of driving the ability to be able to create that differentiated experience to your end customers. So whether it is a Teams call, whether it is a drone show that you're running over a highly prioritized 5G slice, you are basically sort of leveraging the transport layers to basically bring that efficiency, low latency connectivity, high throughput connectivity capabilities, right? So now you're able to take an aspect of customer experience which is derived from the application context and stitch it to the IP flows, right? So with the Blue Planet IP digital twin, you can actually create the replicas of your IP transports and now tag all the flows and basically be able to tag the flows as different application classifications, and also basically take a look at the quality of experience that is being delivered to the cell sites or to an end customer. Typical problems like you take with either, you're watching Netflix, so you're basically having a Teams call and you're always basically seeing, degradation in the service. How do you optimize that? You've got examples around either the traffic is being routed through a poor network or through a congested network, if you will, is an ability for you to now basically bring that application awareness into your IP transport QoS optimization. The third thing I would basically call out to you is the impact assessment. So anytime you're basically doing demand forecasting or even trying to basically take a look at any type of optimizations to your network, how do you do this with awareness to the application? So trying to basically conclude an impact. If I make these changes in my network, what is the impact to my streaming services and to my high value customers, and so on. And then the last point I would basically sort of leave you with is really the cost aspect as well. Depending on the class of applications you're basically delivering, there are costs associated with the infrastructure, with the transit providers and so forth, and it allows you basically to be able to make better decisions that are cost aware as well.
Perfect. Now let's talk about how you can actually build networks that heal your experience. First and foremost, I think it's critical to understand that data is the lifeblood of AI. Now the challenge is that most of the data in the telco industry, they sit, as we all know, across silos, number one, and in fragmented systems. Now, this is going to really fix the problem with AI, because your data needs to be really sitting in a unified data fabric. And the reason for this is the data that feeds into AI must be based on intent, must have the right context, and must have high precision. And based on this intelligence, what we can do is make the network shift from reactive workflows to healing the end user experience. And finally,
I think in closing, all I would say is, as you basically sort of take a look at your OSS transformation, take a look at this, bringing reasoning agents and decisioning to deliver your autonomous networks, is take that holistic approach, right? Look at planning, look at fulfillment, look at your day-to-day operations as an aggregate problem statement, as opposed to individual vertical silos. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bhaskar. Thank you so much, Sumit. Thanks a lot. Thank you. So we're going over to Q&A. Fantastic presentation, by the way. Thank you very much for that. Do we have any questions from the audience? Oh, we already have one. Yeah. Oh, a microphone is coming to you. Thank you.
Hi. You were talking about application detection within the IP stream. You can categorize traffic from your apps. How do you actually correlate that against poor RAN conditions, RSRP, RSRQ, radio access network issues that actually subsequently cause issues within the application? And then also in your control plane within your core network, how do you correlate to determine whether or not you have an error on your IP network or actually within the mobile RAN or core?
Okay, I'll take that. Well, so what we do is we measure end-to-end application experience. Doesn't matter how many networks are there, right? It's essentially what you are feeling, and it could be an enterprise network, it could be across all the different networks. Now, when you get a degradation of experience, what you do is you correlate it with the specific KPIs from the network itself. So in case of RAN, what happens is you don't start looking at the RAN as the first problem area. So our customers don't look at it and say, hey, is this a RAN problem? They first look at it and say, is this a customer problem? Then they go back and say, okay, is this in the RAN or is it in the core or is it in the application server? In order to do that, the initial triage happens and then they start looking at the various domains. And then you obviously have to go and decide that is it in a specific cell tower, let's say, right? And if it is in the cell tower, then they'll look at if it is RSRP or any other parameters that might be tuning. So that obviously still needs your RAN experts to look into those parameters.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I guess that's where having a unified data strategy around the network becomes very important, because once you've got data from all the domains, then you
need the network data, you need the OSS data,
exactly,
and you would need the application QoE data together. And that's what I was talking about when I talked about the unified data fabric. That's the only way you can solve this problem.
And you correlate that information, right? Without that, you're back to day one.
Sure. Thank you very much for that. I know we've got a few more seconds, but I'll ask Sumit this question. How does the Blue Planet Agentic Fabric help service providers innovate with new use cases?
Yeah, thank you. Great question. So, as I talked about, right, from a Blue Planet point of view, we basically sort of take a look at the agentic framework basically as the foundation, right, which is basically bolted into open standards, right? You've already heard about constructs around MCP, A2A ability. The second aspect of it is really around that OSS data that we have already built and grounded into a knowledge graph. You can now additionally basically sort of take some of those foundational agents basically that are available out of the box, or you can essentially sort of bring your own models and basically do training. You can create your own agents. You can actually have composability across the ecosystem and essentially sort of build that orchestrated decisioning outcome that would eventually basically be used to create your closed loop actions.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sumit. I know there was a lot you had to pack in there, but thanks so much for that, and thank you very much, Bhaskar, for the presentation.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right.